inspiration, motivation, and encouragement is brewing. Welcome to the Tea Time with Tan podcast, where you experience innovative solutions and creative ideas designed for your colossal dream success. Let's sip. Here's your host, Tan.
Hello, and welcome to the Tea Time with Tan podcast show. I'm your host, Tan Tate. I'm coming to you from the great state of Texas, and thank you so much for choosing to sip tea with me today. Listen, I want to welcome our first-time listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in, and to our return listeners, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to us all over the United States. Thank you to the country of Sweden for tuning in and listening to us. Thank you. I appreciate you. If you don't know, you can now hear this podcast. I was getting really excited. This podcast is now available on iTunes. So to you iPhone users, please make it one of your favorites on the iTunes app so that you can get notified when a new series or new episode drops. And to everyone else who's been listening on SoundCloud, Spotify, Tumblr, Spreaker, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Now, you know how we like to do it when we get started here. I like to give you what's called a get it together moment. And it's when we take about 60 seconds to get our minds right, our space right, get pen, paper, whatever you need to ensure that as you sip the tea, it is refreshing for you, it is refueling for you, and you get what you need. And you're able to go back as often as needed to get the information. So here's your 60 seconds of get it together time. And you guys know what I do. While you do that, I get myself together and I jam a little bit. Shout out again to my brother, super producer, Tall Cole, for my theme music. And as you're wrapping up your Get It Together moment, please remember to connect with me on social media. On Facebook, I am Tan Tate. On the Instagram, I am Tan Tate. Or there is the Tea Time with Tan podcast show. On Snapchat, it's Anointed to Speak. That's anointed, the number 2, speak. And don't forget the @ symbol. And on Twitter, it's the @ symbol, anointed, the number 2, speak. Let's connect and let's stay together. All right. So thank you so much for getting it together. And now we're getting ready to sip today's tea. Now, we opened up 2019 with a new series entitled Learning to Delegate. And as I shared in the first episode, this is the time of year that we are all excited for our goals, our dreams, our vision, our mission, whatever it is that you were created to do, whatever your purpose is, whatever your passion is. And a lot of times, things tend to fall through the cracks because we don't know how to delegate. And last week, we talked about the importance of creating a priority list, and then the importance of delegating tasks to people who have the right skill set. So if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to the first episode, please go back and do so, because it's all about connecting the puzzle. This week in episode 2 of Learning to Delegate, we're going to talk about strengths and opportunities, trust, and verify. I'm glad you asked. What do I mean about strengths and opportunities? Well, as you begin to look at your vision board, and remember, we always talk about who you're connected to, the team that you have assembled around you, because where you're going, it's going to take a team. Yes, you are the visionary, but you got to have the right people in place to help you accomplish the vision. Now, whether it's your friends, whether you strategically put together an accountability team, your spouse, your significant other, your children, whomever that core team is, it's important that you know and identify their strengths and opportunities. And when we talk about a strength, we're talking about something the person does well. They're good at that. You know, you may have a creative person who can come up with creative ideas. You may have a solutions person who can come up with solutions. You can have a scenario person who begins to prepare for what could happen. So they're good at thinking outside of the box, thinking for the unexpected and coming up with a plan. So those are the strengths that you want to begin to identify in your team. What are they good at? And then on the opposite end of strengths are opportunities. And these are areas that people may need some continuing developing in. They may need some growth in. They may not just quite be ready for the task that's needed to be done. So you have to truly identify your team's strengths and opportunities. And listen, you also need to identify your strengths and opportunities. That's important as you begin to assemble a team. If there's an area that can be an opportunity for you, you want to be looking at, okay, who does well in this area? You know, this is not a strong suit for me. So who can I bring in who does well in this area? That's important. We have to be honest with ourselves. Listen, we don't know it all and we need help, but you just got to make sure it's the right help, because you don't want to have a mole in your team. And we all know what that means. You know, a mole is somebody that come in and they spy in to conspire against you. So you want to make sure that you use discernment when you are assembling your team. And listen, if God tells you it's time for somebody to be removed from the team, guess what? Just like that bolt of lightning, if God tells you that it is time for someone to be removed from the team, they gotta go. Okay? And just like he informs you of who needs to go, he will also share with you who needs to come in. So make sure that you're operating from a place of discernment. So back to the strengths and opportunities. You've assembled your team, and now you know the strengths and you know the opportunities of each individual along with yourself. Now you want to begin to put the puzzles together, because when you go back to your priority list, you want to make sure that what you delegate, who you delegate it to, they are up for the task and they will get it done. Now, after you've created your priority list, after you've identified the strengths and the opportunities, you know who's who on the team, you want to make sure that you give clear instructions. And when I'm talking about clear instructions, it goes back to how you need to write the vision and make it plain so others can run with it. Listen, God knew that we would need a team. He knew that you would need to know how to delegate. Therefore, he put that scripture in the Bible about writing the vision and making it plain so others can run with it. So as you begin to delegate your task, you want to make sure that you give clear instructions. And those instructions should have detail about what's inspected. It should have a turnaround time. You know, turnaround time, that means when is it due by? It should have a checkup time. You know, hey, let's meet and touch base, a touch point. We're going to touch point and see how the project is going. You don't want to wait until the project is due, and then you're trying to get together to talk about it and realize that some things have been a challenge. So make sure that you are communicating effectively with the team that you delegate to help bring the vision to pass. So make sure you're giving clear instructions. And again, those instructions should have detail. Those instructions should have a due date. They should also have checkup dates. So you may want to create a mini project definition sheet. And I call it the PDS. It's a project definition sheet. And in that project definition sheet, you're giving, what's the objective of this? What's the goal? And here's what it's going to take to accomplish and achieve this. Make sure you're giving clear instructions. For example, if your accountability partner, if a part of your vision for 2019 is to lose 20 pounds, so that's your objective, to lose 20 pounds in 2019. The goal may be to lose 2 pounds a month. The detail can be, what does your food plan look like? What does your exercise plan look like? What does your mind plan look like? Because everything starts mentally, so you got to make sure your mind is prepared. So that's a small example of what can go into the project definition sheet. And then who's responsible? So Betty may be really good at exercising. So you give Betty the task of making sure she holds you accountable for your exercising. Lou may be good at managing the food plan. So you talk to Lou, get his intake and involvement on the food plan. Kim may be good with the, mental health. So you work with her to get things to bring mental healthiness to your mindset. Someone else may be good in the spiritual realm, may be good in meditation. Listen, where you're going, it's going to take a team. It's going to take the right team. And of course, you don't want to leave out God. And then the next point that we're going to talk about this week, actually, I'm going to save that for next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about trust and verify. So to recap this episode regarding strengths and opportunities and instructions, make sure that you know the skill set of your team. Make sure you identify your strengths and your opportunities. Make sure you provide clear instructions. Make sure you do a project definition sheet. The goal and objective is to be able to delegate so that your purpose, your vision can manifest. You can't hold on to everything. Last week we talked about letting things go, learning how to let it go. This week we're talking about strengths and opportunities. So when you let go, you're letting go to the right people. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Learning to Delegate, episode 2, Strengths and Opportunities. As we come to a close, I want to give you your inspiration moment of today. And it's dealing with hope. Hope is an acronym for me that stands for helping others prevail every day. And you have to know the seeds you plant is the harvest you will reap. So today I'm challenging you to go plant some seeds of hope. Go be hope in someone's life. Show up in their life and be a seed of hope. Ask them, what do they have going on? Ask them what challenges that they may be facing. And then provide them with either a word of hope, an act of hope. Do something, do something. Take them maybe a